For the past 8 months, a man by the name of Adam Ellis has been documenting a series of terrifying paranormal events involving the ghost of a young boy called David on his Twitter account. This story is known as Dear David. In this video we take a look at the more recent developments of this strange viral ghost story as we look at Adam's Twitter account from October 2017 to December 2017. I had previously put together a video documenting the prior months of the Dear David story, so check out the link below if you would like a full recap. But now let's jump in and continue the chilling tale of David. The past couple of weeks have been pretty peaceful. I have people taking care of the cats and they say they've been doing fine. This morning I went for a long walk around Sapporo. I never really plan my vacations. I like to wander a lot and see what I can find. I came across this statue in a park. I couldn't find out any real information about it online, but it was weird and pretty. I was taking pictures of it from different angles since it's cylindrical. I moved around to one side and almost dropped my phone at what I saw. It felt too similar to be a coincidence. I felt dizzy staring up at it, this kid with a dented head. I don't know, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe this is nothing. It doesn't feel like nothing. Adam then began complaining about a malfunction with the LED backlight on his TV. He claimed the light ran off the USB power source of the television, but was flickering on and off by itself all night despite the TV being unplugged. Later, Adam heard faint scratching sounds coming from outside the front door of his apartment. Afraid to open the door, he took pictures through the peephole instead. After taking these pictures, Adam didn't update his Twitter account again until October 26, when he apologised for the lack of updates, but explained he had a friend come over to cleanse the apartment, and things had seemed to calm down since then. However, something strange was about to occur. It was starting to seem like it was over. Then one morning last week, I was walking to work and passed the shuttered warehouse as usual. This time all the metal doors were wide open, sunlight pouring in. The warehouse was mostly empty, except for one thing. The warehouse had been closed for over 2 months. I had no idea why it was open that day. Nobody was around. It was weird, but I tried not to think about it. It's not all that strange to see a hearse, I guess. Like, they have to park somewhere. I tried to put it out of my mind, and the next several days were uneventful. But something else happened that night. It was around 11 or so and I was watching TV on the couch. I went into the dining room to get a drink from the fridge and noticed both cats sitting by the far window, staring up at it. The window looks out onto the roof of the business next door. I glanced out of the window but didn't see anything. I figured that maybe there was a mouse in the wall or something. I shrugged and grabbed a beer from the fridge. As I went into the kitchen to get the bottle opener, I noticed something. There's a window in the kitchen which looks out onto the same roof, and someone was standing on the roof staring at me. I immediately ducked down. I reached up and flicked off the light switch. I peered over the windowsill but couldn't see much. My phone was in my pocket, so I grabbed it and took a photo. It was blurry and dark, but I swear someone was out there. I tried to take a better photo, but the figure had disappeared. But now I feel I'm back at square one. I'm sure it was him. He's not going away. I don't know what to do. As we move into November, Adam's dreams of David begin to reoccur. It's been about 4 months since the first time I dreamed of David. This might be long, but stick with me. Last night I dreamt about him again. It was almost exactly the same as the first time I saw him. In the dream, I saw him in a chair again. I don't have the green chair in my room anymore. This time it was a recliner I've had for years. He was staring right at me, just like the first time. Again, I felt paralysed and could barely move, but this time, something was different. I still felt mostly immobile, but I could squirm just a little bit. I felt more alert. I could move my hands somewhat. David glared at me and I dreaded what I knew was coming. He was going to get out of the chair and come toward me like before. I had to do something. I keep my phone next to me on my bed and somehow I managed to get a hold of it. I thought, If David is going to kill me, maybe I can at least get evidence on my phone. I started snapping pictures in the dark. Sure enough, he crawled down off the chair and began shuffling toward me. He moved slowly, like it was a struggle for him. I felt terrified, but I kept taking photos. David limped closer toward me, never taking his eyes off me. Soon I was face to face with him. He started muttering something, too quiet for me to understand. I watched as his eyes rolled back into his head until they were all white. I tried to writhe away from him, but I could barely move. I stared in horror as he began crawling up onto my bed, still murmuring something. And that's when I woke up. Same as before, broad daylight, no trace of David anywhere. I wasn't even going to write about this, since it wouldn't really be any new information, but tonight I noticed something that petrified me. I went into my phone to find a picture from a couple of days ago, and saw dozens of pitch black photos in my camera roll, all from last night. Usually I can come up with some excuse for what's happening, but I have no logical explanation for this. A few weeks later, Adam begins tweeting out about the floor plan of his apartment. You see, Adam lives in a duplex, and previously he had lived on the first floor before moving upstairs to the apartment above. Despite living on the second floor, Adam had no access to the roof. However, there was a mysterious hatch that seemed to lead to the attic space in the hallway above the stairwell. You can see in the sketch here the roof David appeared to Adam on, which would be right below the attic space. I was ready to explain this away for a few reasons. One, it might be some sort of insulated space that all residential buildings have. I'm not an architect, so what do I know? It didn't seem relevant enough at the time, so I decided I wasn't going to mention it here. But over the past week and a half, I've been hearing more things above me. A few days after the first sound, I heard a similar thump while I was in the kitchen. Then last night, I heard something small clink to the floor and roll about 6 feet before stopping. Something is going on up there. Maybe it's a raccoon, but maybe it's not. I also can't get over the fact that the hatch is in such a weird, inaccessible place over the stairs. I need to investigate. I'm just not sure how right now. I guess I'll try to buy a long pole off Amazon to see if a hatch even moves. I might have to buy a construction ladder. At any rate, that's why I've been missing in action for a minute. I'll keep you posted when I figure out how to get up there. While waiting for the pole to arrive, Adam heard more disturbing sounds. The noises from the ceiling haven't let up, but the pole I ordered didn't arrive before I had to leave for holiday, so I didn't actually get it until late Friday night. I planned to investigate the next morning and went to bed. I'd barely fallen asleep when I woke up to an incredibly loud crash above me. It sounded like someone had dropped a bowling ball. I bolted upright in bed and immediately felt strange. There was a weird energy all around me. I can't explain it. After about a minute, I heard another crash. I briefly thought about grabbing my shoes and booking it, but that would mean passing under the hatch, and that seemed like a bad idea, so instead I just listened and waited, though I'm not sure for what. The crash happened again, and then again, probably 15 times in a row, followed by a long silence. Then I heard a small, creaky sound from the hallway. In my mind, I registered it as a footstep, but it could have been anything. I stayed still, but there were no more sounds after that. I lay back down, still tense and nervous, but I must have fallen asleep at some point, because I woke up the next morning and everything seemed normal again. I got dressed and left to get a bagel, same as every Saturday. As I made my way down the stairs, something crunched under my feet. I looked down and noticed a pile of debris on the stairs directly under the hatch. It looked like dirt, but I couldn't tell for certain. It could have been old plaster or something. I glanced up at the hatch and noticed something else peculiar. The edge of something was caught in it, barely poking out. It's hard to see because it's so far up, but I took a photo. At that point, bagels were the last thing on my mind. I went back upstairs and grabbed the pole. I set my camera on the coat wardrobe at the top of the stairs and hit record, just to make sure it would be caught on video if a demon burst out of a hatch. I jumped out of the way and practically fell down the stairs trying to dodge whatever it was that fell. At first I thought it was a dead squirrel, which would honestly explain a lot. It hit the steps and bounced down to the first floor. I picked it up and realised what it was. It was a small leather shoe. I hustled back upstairs and texted my landlord. I told him I thought there was something in the crawl space and asked if he could investigate. He said he'd come by later with a ladder and check it out. A few hours later, my landlord was on the ladder, shining a flashlight into the crawl space. I stared up at him, half expecting someone to grab him and yank him into the darkness. He angled his flashlight all around and finally said, "There's nothing up here." But then he was like, "Oh wait." I watched as he reached up into the emptiness with his free arm, and when he pulled it back he had something small and round in his hand. He climbed down the ladder and handed it to me. Again, I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. It was smooth and shiny, and at first I thought it was an old piece of candy, but it was cold and too heavy to be candy. After a second I realised it was a marble. It was so worn that it hadn't registered as a marble at first. Its shape was also sort of weird, with a little bump on one end. Adam didn't tweet out for a little while after he found these items in his attic. Then on December 12th, he returned with the most disturbing story so far.